We're going to move on to Thursday's Guardian. Nick, what are the Guardian leading with?
So, of course, they got Rwanda, but they've also got 8 MPs exit Labour front bench over Gaza ceasefire. This was, of course, the vote you alluded to before, which wanted to call explicitly for a ceasefire. 56 Labour MPs voted for it with the SNP. Madness, really. Jess Phillips has therefore resigned. So has Afzal Khan, Yasmin Qureshi, Paul Barker, Sarah Owen, Naz Shah, and Andy Slaughter, ironically named perhaps, but depending on where you stand. But what were you going to say?
Well, I want to put this to you, Nick, and I'm not expecting you to solve the crisis in the Middle East. But what I am putting to you is, obviously, a lot of people are upset on an emotional level whenever people are dying. So that explains this from an emotive point of view. But what is Israel meant to do, insofar as they cannot possibly coexist with Hamas, a terrorist group living next door that has vowed to repeat this action again and again and again until Jews are wiped out? So it's not an option to leave Hamas where they are. So a ceasefire, there was a ceasefire before October the 7th. It was Hamas who broke it. They don't really have a choice, do they?
Well, I agree with you, Andrew, but many people in the Labour Party don't. Let's remember this is a party that was led until recently by Jeremy Corbyn, who refused repeatedly to say that Hamas were a terror group with Piers Morgan the other night.
That was shocking, actually.
And you might say, look, there's a humanitarian angle. OK, fine. But is it that, or is it ideological? Because when you have people like Naz Shah, remember, she was suspended for 3 months for saying that Israel should move to the US in a post. And amazingly, she's still in the party. So these are people who don't like Israel. So there's lots of humanitarian crises we could look at throughout the world, but they seem particularly focused on this one.
What do you think about this, Lewis? I mean, am I wrong to say that Israel doesn't have a choice but to insist? Before a ceasefire, they would have to insist, surely, that Hamas is disbanded and that the hostages are returned. At a sort of base level, they would have to have that.
I would say that. If people don't see that, then what can I do about it? What can we do about it? People out there don't see it. There's 250 hostages in basements underneath the hospital there. Do people see it? I don't know. First of all, I don't know. We don't get enough public opinion polls in this country. Our political parties are not strong enough to... This could be the best thing that happened to this country, because Labour should do what it wants to do, which could be a pro-Palestinian party. And,
yeah, but, well, no, Labour, I think, would never be that simplistic insofar as there are always two parties in one. Yeah. I mean, clearly this story is talking about Labour frontbenchers resigning over this, right? So clearly there's a split.
Well, then, if Labour is two parties in one, the other party, what's the name of the other
Conservative.
Party? Conservative Party will...
I told you to do your research before coming on the show.
I'd just forgotten, because you don't hear from these people. And the Conservative Party, if people have a choice today in the country, they should have a choice. They should have a party that stands for Palestinians and terrorism, or a party that stands for...
I mean, Lewis, I'm not so sure that that's right.
Well, how about this? How about I backtrack a bit? I'm in favor... I'm not saying that they're not all terrorists, but I'm in favor of a ceasefire between the Palestinians, the pro-Palestinian people who are having a revolt against our country, and the other people living.
OK, there we go. Lewis has solved the problem.